The noise in our Fifth Avenue duplex was a living, breathing thing. Laughter, the high-pitched squeals of a dozen 7-year-olds, and the relentless, sugary beat of the latest pop song Disney had convinced them was genius. I, Thea Thornton, moved through it with the practiced ease of a general surveying her troops. A smile here for Mrs. Vanderbilt Charles, whose donation to my foundation last quarter had been staggeringly generous. A light touch on the arm there for the editor-in-chief of Manhattan Style, ensuring she'd gotten a mimosa that was heavy on the champagne, just as she liked. This was my element. This was the life I had built. And it was all for Chloe. Mommy? A small hand slipped into mine. Chloe, my golden-haired girl in her pale blue princess dress, looked up, her big eyes clouded with a disappointment she was trying so hard to hide. Is Daddy's flight maybe getting in early? My heart, that well-defended fortress, gave a familiar, painful squeeze. I knelt, adjusting the tiny diamond-studded comb in her hair, a gift from Derek for her 5th birthday, back when he still remembered to shop for her himself. Not early, sweetheart, but you know he wanted to be here more than anything. The merger in San Francisco, it's just terrible timing. He sent the biggest present. Remember? We'll video call him when you open it. She nodded. A brave little soldier. It's okay. The party is really fun. But her gaze drifted to the pile of beautifully wrapped gifts, zeroing in on the enormous, glossy red box with the silver bow, the one that had arrived by special courier from California this morning, the one that was supposed to make up for his absence. Again, Thea, darling, this is sublime. Meredith Carlisle, my oldest friend and a partner at a viciously efficient corporate law firm, materialized at my side, her voice a low murmur meant only for me. You've outdone yourself. Even the ice sculptures have little unicorns. The PR from this will have the Junior League board weeping with envy. It's Chloe's day, I said, my smile never wavering. I just want it perfect for her. And Derek? Stuck in Silicon Valley with the number crunchers? Meredith's sharp eyes missed nothing. 3rd major can't-miss deal that's coincided with a family milestone in, what, 2 years? His career is important. Mayor, the automatic defense rolled off my tongue, smooth as the vintage Dom Perignon flowing in the next room. We knew the sacrifices when he took the managing partner role. The travel comes with the territory. Even as I said it, the words tasted stale. The territory seemed to consist primarily of San Francisco, and it claimed him every October, like clockwork. Chloe's birthday month. This time, it was the entire month, Meredith said, the sound non-committal but loaded. She sipped her champagne. Well, the gift is certainly monumental. What is it? She's been begging for the new Enchanted Castle Lego set. The one that's sold out everywhere. Has 3,000 pieces, and apparently requires an engineering degree to assemble. I tried to sound amused, motherly, not like I'd spent 3 hours on the phone calling in a favor from the CEO of a major toy retailer, a man whose wife chaired one of my foundation's committees. To get it, Derek had texted a week ago, ordered the big Lego thing. Should arrive for the party. Tell Chloe Daddy loves her. He'd remembered the request. He'd just forgotten to be here. Time for presents. I clapped my hands, my voice cutting through the music with cheerful authority. The children swarmed the living room, a sea of sequins and tiny suits. Chloe took her place on the velvet pouf, a queen on her throne. One by one, she opened the offerings. The latest, slim test tablet, a gift certificate for horseback riding lessons, a delicate gold necklace from her grandmother. Each was met with genuine, polite delight, but her eyes kept flicking to the big red box. Finally, it was the last one. This one's from Daddy, she announced, her voice lifting with a hope that shattered me. With help from 2 of the other boys, she tore off the glossy paper. The reveal was worthy of the build-up. The enormous Lego box, depicting a fantastical castle with spires and bridges in all its glory. A collective uhu rose from the kids. The parents smiled, some with genuine appreciation, others with the slight unease of those whose gift had just been utterly eclipsed. "There's a card," Chloe squealed, spotting the small, creamy envelope that had been taped to the inside of the box lid. She fumbled with it, her small fingers clumsy with excitement. My smile felt plastered on. He remembered a card. I thought, a tiny, fragile warmth blooming in my chest. Maybe it was a long, heartfelt apology. Maybe it promised a special trip. Just the two of them, to make up for this. Maybe. Chloe pulled out the thick cardstock. It was a simple, elegant design, the kind you bought at a high-end stationery store. She cleared her throat, putting on her best, reading a loud voice for her audience. "To my brave little man," she began, her voice clear and proud. The room didn't go silent all at once. It was a slow leak. The chatter from the parents behind the children faded first. Then the kids near Chloe, sensing the shift in the adults, quieted. Chloe, oblivious, plowed on, her finger under the words. "Happy 7th birthday. Keep making Daddy proud." She paused, her forehead wrinkling just a little. The next words came out slower, more hesitant. "All my love." Dead. Silence. A perfect, ringing, absolute silence where only the distant thump of bass from the hired DJ's speakers could be heard. Chloe looked at the card. She turned it over. She looked at the box, with its princesses and fairy tale theme. She looked up at me, her face a canvas of pure, uncomprehending confusion. "Mommy?" The word was small, fragile. It says, little man. For a fraction of a second, my world ceased to exist. The elegant room, the watching faces, the scent of expensive flowers and cupcakes. It all dissolved into a white, screaming void. Brave little man. My proud. Dad. The handwriting was unmistakable. The strong, slanted, cursive Derek used for personal notes. The same hand that had written, "Will you marry me?" on a napkin at the Carlisle all those years ago. My body moved before my mind could catch up. In 2 strides, I was beside Chloe, plucking the card gently from her frozen fingers. The paper felt like a live wire. I didn't look at it. I couldn't. I let out a laugh. It sounded, even to my own ears, miraculously light, airy, amused. "Oh, for heaven's sake!" I exclaimed, shaking my head. I held the card up, flashing it with a rueful grin at the assembled, stunned parents. Derek's new assistant, Jessica. I swear, that girl is a wonder with spreadsheets, but cannot keep a gift straight to save her life. I rolled my eyes, a conspiratorial gesture woman to women. He must have had her send the gift for the Wainwright boys' party next week. You know, the one for little Oliver. His father is a crucial potential investor. This is exactly the kind of mix-up she'd make. Too funny. I saw the relief flood into their faces first. Of course, a simple, silly mistake, an assistant's error, much more comfortable than the other. Unthinkable possibility. The murmurs started again, now tinged with sympathetic laughter. Those assistants, always something, isn't it? I looked down at Chloe, cupping her cheek. Her eyes were still wide, swimming with tears of confusion. "Daddy was so busy thinking about your present. Honey, he had his silly assistant mail it, and she got the cards mixed up. See, it's for a little boy named Oliver. But this amazing castle is all for you. Daddy knew it was exactly what you wanted. The lie was seamless. It coated the raw, jagged truth in smooth, believable frosting. Chloe wanted to believe. She needed to. A tremulous smile touched her lips. "It's the biggest one," she whispered. "The biggest one." I confirmed, my voice thick with a love that felt suddenly, terrifyingly fierce. "Now, who wants to help Chloe start looking at the instructions? I think we need some more cake to fuel this building project." The moment was broken. The party engine roared back to life, louder now, as if to drown out the lingering unease. I slipped the card into the pocket of my silk trousers. It burned there, like a brand against my thigh. The party wound down. Goodbyes were said. Effusive thanks given. Nannies and drivers collecting overstimulated. Sugar-crashed children. I hugged Meredith extra tight at the door. "Thea," she murmured, her voice low. "That card. A stupid mistake," I said, my smile brilliant and unwavering. "You know Derek. Head in the clouds. All about the deal. I'll give him an earful about it later. Safe drive. Darling." I closed the door on the last guest and leaned against it. The silence of the apartment was now oppressive, heavy with the ghost of laughter and the lingering scent of betrayal. I walked slowly to Chloe's room. She was already in her pajamas, the massive Lego box taking up half her bedroom floor. She was quiet, tracing a picture of the finished castle on the box. "Hey, my love," I said, sitting on the edge of her bed. "Daddy's assistant isn't very good at her job," she stated, not looking up. "No, sweetie, she isn't. But Daddy, he should have checked." The simple, devastating logic of a child. "Yes," I said, my voice soft. "He should have." I stroked her hair until her eyelids fluttered closed. The exhaustion of the day finally winning. Only then did the mask I'd worn for 8 straight hours finally crack. My breath hitched, a single, sharp sob escaping before I could choke it back. I pressed my fingers to my lips, forcing the emotion down, down into a dark, cold place where it couldn't touch her. In my home office, I poured 2 fingers of neat bourbon, Derek's favorite, and downed it. The burn grounded me. I took the card from my pocket and laid it on my pristine glass desk. I didn't need to read it again. The words were seared into my mind. To my brave little man, happy 7th birthday. Keep making Daddy proud. All my love. Dad. 7. Liam. My mind, usually a whirring Rolodex of donor lists, event details, and social connections, now became a predator. It stalked through memories, snatching at scraps. Derek's essential trips, always clustered. Spring, fall, and every single October. He missed Chloe's 4th birthday for a last-minute client summit, her 5th for a portfolio review, her 6th for due diligence. This year, the entire month for merger negotiation, and the other patterns, the week around Thanksgiving. He'd often go out a day or 2 early for pre-meetings. The 2 weeks in June, supposedly at a leadership retreat in Napa. I opened my laptop, my hand steady. I clicked on the shared family cloud calendar, the one I meticulously managed. Derek's entries were sparse, added by me based on his terse texts. SF, October 1st to 31st. Merger. I scrolled back. Last year, Palo Alto, October 10th to 28th. Investor Roadshow the year before. San Francisco, October 12th to 30th. Strategic planning. A cold, precise clarity was crystallizing. I opened a new browser tab. I had the login for Derek's airline frequent flyer account. I'd set it up for him years ago, consolidated his miles, handled the upgrades. He'd never changed the password. Why would he? I was the one who managed things. I logged in. The dashboard showed his status, his miles. I navigated to activity, not the curated future trips, but the history. And there it was. Not just the flights I knew about, not just the mergers and road shows. Dozens of flights. San Francisco, San Jose, Oakland, spanning back years. Short trips, weekend jaunts. A flight arriving on October 10th last year, the day before Chloe's birthday. A flight departing November 21st, the day before Thanksgiving. A cluster every June. I cross-referenced the dates with our family calendar. The June leadership retreat that was actually a Thursday to Tuesday trip. The pre-Thanksgiving meetings that were a Wednesday red-eye. My finger hovered over the trackpad. Ice cold. I clicked on a flight for from last October 10th. Details popped up. Booked, not through the firm's travel agency, but personally. Paid for with a card. I knew that card. It was the platinum card on our joint account. The one for household and family expenses. The one I used to buy groceries, to pay for Chloe's piano lessons, to donate to charity. He had used our family's money to fly to his other life. The nausea was swift and violent. I gripped the edge of the desk, breathing through it. Brave little man. 7. Daddy. The pieces weren't just fitting together. They were slamming into place with the force of a wrecking ball. Another child, a son, born within days of Chloe. Loved, celebrated, called brave, called my proud, while my daughter, our daughter, got a gift wrapped in a lie and a father who was always 3,000 miles away. The shock began to recede, burned away by a new, clean, and utterly focused emotion. It wasn't hot rage. It was something deeper, more potent, and infinitely more dangerous. It was a glacial, clarifying fury. I opened a new, encrypted document on my computer. The blank page glowed in the dim light of the office. My fingers settled on the keys, steady as a surgeon's. At the top, I typed 3 words, in bold, capital letters. Project Accountability. I took a deep, shuddering breath that filled my lungs with resolve instead of despair. Then I began to type, the click of the keys the only sound in the tomb-quiet apartment. I started with a timeline, listing every suspicious trip, every discrepancy. I noted the credit card. I listed the names of Derek's usual hotels in the Bay Area at the Stanford Court, the Rosewood. I wrote down the names of his closest colleagues, the ones who might have covered for him, or who might, if handled correctly, reveal the truth. The evidence was a web, and I was now the spider at its center. I would follow every strand. I would learn everything. I would understand the full scope of the betrayal that had been living and breathing alongside my marriage for years. The tears were gone. My face in the dark reflection of the monitor was a stranger's, pale, grim, and utterly determined. The perfect crack in my perfect life had been revealed, and I would be the one to decide how, and when, and with what devastating force. To break it wide open, I typed through the night, the city lights blinking indifferently below. The party was over. The war had just begun. The sharp, clean scent of Lena Rossi's office, a mix of lemon polish, old books, and expensive espresso that usually soothed me. Today, it felt like the antiseptic air of a war room, which, I supposed, it was. I placed the cream-colored card on her immaculate oak desk. Facing her, I didn't say a word. Lena, my best friend since Columbia Law and the most ruthlessly logical person I knew, picked it up with a manicured hand. Her eyes, the color of slate, scanned the 4 lines. Her expression didn't change. She placed it back down, precisely on the same spot, as if it were a piece of evidence in a trial. Then she looked at me, her gaze sweeping over my carefully composed face, the Prada sheath dress, the perfect blonde chignon. She saw past it all. She always did. "How's Chloe?" she asked first, her voice low, asleep, exhausted, confused. But she bought the stupid assistant story. For now, my own voice sounded foreign, clipped and steady. Good. Lena leaned back in her Herman Miller chair, steepling her fingers. Okay, Thea, start at the beginning. Don't leave anything out. Not a single feeling, not a single suspicion. Facts and feelings, both are data. I talked. I laid it out like I was presenting a grant proposal. Cold and clear, the pattern of absences, the airline records, the credit card charges, the hollow excuse of a merger that somehow required a month in California. I showed her the printed flight history from the frequent flyer account. When I finished, the only sound was the distant hum of Manhattan traffic 20 stories below. Lena let out a long, slow breath. Christ, Thea, I need a plan. Lena, not sympathy, a plan. You'll get one. She stood, pacing to the window overlooking Central Park. But first, you need to understand what you're dealing with. This isn't a drunken hookup at a conference. This is a parallel life. A child, a son, the financial commitment alone. She turned, her professional mask fully in place. You cannot confront him yet. Not directly, not emotionally. I have no intention of crying on his shoulder. I know you don't, but you're angry, righteously, cosmically angry. That makes you powerful, but it can also make you stupid. We need evidence. Irrefutable. Court admissible. Take him to the cleaners, evidence. We need to know everything before he knows we know anything. What's the first move? The money, she said without hesitation. It always is. He's maintaining 2 households. That's not cheap, especially on the West Coast. He's either dipping into marital assets, cleverly, or he has income streams you don't know about. Probably both. I nodded, my mind already racing. Gary. Lena raised an eyebrow. Your accountant? The nervous one who looks like a mole? Gary Milstein. He's handled our personal and the foundation's books for 15 years. He adores me. He's terrified of Derek. Derek barks numbers at him. I bring him homemade banana bread and remember his grandkids' names. A cold, tactical calm was settling over me. Derek would use Gary. He's lazy with details he considers administrative. If he set up accounts, Gary would know. Can you get him to talk? I don't need him to talk, I said, a thin smile touching my lips. I need him to complain, to warn me, out of loyalty. I already knew how. Gary was a worrier. His currency was anxiety. I met Gary for lunch 2 days later at a quiet, old world steakhouse he loved, far from the hedge fund haunts. I ordered a salad I would eat. He ordered the prime rib, fidgeting with his napkin. Gary, you're a lifesaver for meeting on such short notice. I began, layering on the warmth. Anything for you. Thea. Always. He pushed his glasses up his nose. Everything okay? The Foundation's Q3 reports are looking stellar. By the way, donors are happy. The Foundation is the one thing that's not keeping me up at night, I said, letting my smile dim, injecting just the right note of weary concern. I leaned in. It's Derek. Actually, Gary's fork paused midair. Oh, I'm worried about him. Gary. The stress. These long trips. He's so closed off. And I found something. I let my voice drop to a conspiratorial whisper. A credit card statement. For an account I didn't recognize. Charges in California. A lot of them. For a storage unit? In Burlingame? I made it up on the spot. A plausible, innocuous-sounding mystery. Gary's face went pale. The prime rib lost its appeal. Thea, that might be. There are sometimes separate accounts for investment management. For privacy. Privacy from me? I asked softly, my eyes wide with confused hurt. Gary, we've been married for 7 years. We have a daughter. What kind of investments require privacy from a spouse? I reached out and touched his hand, a gesture of vulnerability. Please, if you know something, if he's in some kind of trouble, maybe with the fund, you have to tell me. I need to protect Chloe. I need to protect us. I had him. The banana bread, the remembered birthdays, the genuine kindness versus Derek's impatience. It all tipped the scales. Gary's loyalty was to the family, and in his mind, I was its heart. He looked around nervously, then leaned in, his voice a husky whisper. There's a sub-account, under the main Thornton Holdings umbrella. Derek set it up about 4 years ago, said it was for managing a specific, sensitive venture capital portfolio. High risk, high reward. Needed separation for operational clarity. Gary swallowed. The disbursements are regular, substantial. They go to a numbered LLC based in Delaware. The payments are automated. I process the quarterly transfers from the main account. I never see what they're for. Where do the payments from the LLC go? I asked, my heart hammering against my ribs. I don't know. The LLC's books are handled by a firm in San Francisco. Derek insisted. He was sweating now. Thea, if he's in trouble, if he's using marital assets for something improper, you did the right thing telling me. Gary, I said, squeezing his hand, my voice full of grateful relief. This is probably nothing. Just Derek being Derek. Paranoid about his strategies. But it eases my mind to know. Thank you for being such a good friend to this family. I left him with his guilt and his cold prime rib. In the cab downtown, I opened my notes app. Thornton Holdings. Subaccount. For years. Regular disbursements. Delaware LLC. SF firm. Lena was right. It was always the money. A Delaware LLC is a black box. Lena said later that evening, over a glass of Cabernet in her living room. Her toddler was finally asleep. But the San Francisco connection is the key. The payments are for something. A mortgage, rent, tuition, living expenses, the hotel. I said, the idea clicking into place. The Stanford Court. He always stays there. He's had the same suite for years. I've called for him, made changes. I know his membership number, his PIN. He uses his birthday. Lena's eyes gleamed. Can you get in? I can try. It was shockingly easy. A call to the hotel's platinum member line. A warm, familiar tone. Hi. Yes. This is Thea Thornton. I'm calling for my husband, Derek Thornton. He's en route, and the internet on the plane is dreadful. He asked me to confirm some details on his upcoming stay. Yes. Suite 814. As always. And he wanted to double-check the reservation for the adjacent room. For the nanny. It should be under Chin? CHEN? The clerk, eager to please a platinum spouse, didn't hesitate. Let me see, yes. Mrs. Thornton. We have the adjoining room 816 reserved under Vivian Chin. Arriving the same day as Mr. Thornton. Departing the same day. Would you like me to confirm any other details? My throat was so tight I could barely speak. No, that's perfect. Thank you so much. I hung up, my hand trembling. Vivian Chen. A name. The nanny? The mother? Both? Lena hired the investigator. His name was Frank Walsh. Former SFPD. Now private. He was expensive, discreet, and, according to Lena, owed me a favor the size of the Golden Gate Bridge. I gave him everything. The name, the hotel, the LLC lead, the timeline. 1 week later, Lena summoned me back to her office. A plain manila envelope sat on her desk. Walsh works fast, she said, her voice devoid of all emotion. You need to see this, but you need to prepare yourself. It's comprehensive. I opened the envelope. The first sheet was a summary. Vivian Chen, 35, pediatrician, Stanford Children's Health. Divorced, 2018. One son, Liam Chen, DOB, October 1-2. Why breath hitched. 5 days after Chloe. The next page was a property record. A deed for a townhouse in Burlingame. A wealthy, family-friendly suburb, south of the city. Purchased 3 years and 8 months ago. The buyer, Horizon View Holdings, LLC, our Delaware LLC. I flipped to the photos. They were taken from a distance, with a long lens, but were brutally clear. The first, Derek, in jeans and a sweater I didn't recognize, pushing a laughing boy on a tire swing in a backyard. The boy had Derek's smile, his dark hair. The second, Derek and a woman, Vivian, walking down a charming downtown street, holding hands. She was beautiful, in an understated, academic way. She was looking up at him, laughing. The third, the three of them, Derek, Vivian, and Liam, in front of a house decorated for Halloween. A family portrait. The date stamp on the photo's edge. October 31st of last year. Derek had called me that night, saying he was stuck in a late dinner with clients. He'd sounded tired. I'd told him to get some rest. The fourth, A close-up of the front door of the townhouse. A wooden sign, painted in childish letters. The Chin family. And below it, a smaller, newer sign. And Derek. And Derek. The world telescoped down to that photo. The cheery sign. The implication of permanence. Of belonging. This wasn't a mistress in an apartment. This was a home. A second home. A second family. He had a porch. A swing. A neighborhood. A son who looked like him. A woman who looked at him with easy, public affection. All the air left the room. The glacial fury that had sustained me evaporated, and in its place rushed a pain so visceral it was physical. It felt like my bones were cracking. A raw, wounded sound escaped me, and I slapped a hand over my mouth to stifle it, my eyes burning. Lena was there in an instant, her arm around my shoulders. Breathe, Thea. Just breathe. I couldn't. I was drowning in the images. Derek teaching a boy to ride a bike. Derek carving pumpkins. Derek holding another woman's hand in broad daylight. Derek being a dad to the present. Engaged. Proud dad. He never was for Chloe. He'd been hoarding his tenderness, his time, his presence, and giving it all to them. In our house. With our money. The sobs came then. Harsh and ugly, shaking my whole body. I cried for the betrayed wife. I cried for the bewildered daughter. I cried for the years of my life, my effort, my love, poured into a man who had been living a lie. I cried until my ribs ached and my head throbbed. Lena didn't speak. She just held me, a steady, silent pillar, and let the storm rage. When it finally passed, leaving me hollow and trembling, I pulled away. I wiped my face with the heels of my hands, smearing mascara. I didn't care. I looked at the photos again, spread across the polished oak. The pain was still there, a vast, black ocean inside me, but rising from its depths was something else, something harder, something absolute. I picked up the family Halloween photo. I stared at Derek's smiling, relaxed face, the face of a man who had it all. Okay, I said, my voice raspy but clear. I placed the photo back on the desk, aligning it neatly with the others. I looked at Lena. All traces of grief were gone from my face, burned away. Now I'm ready. Lena nodded, recognizing the shift. What do you want? Thea, be specific. I met her gaze, my own eyes dry and cold as stone. I want the house on Fifth Avenue. I want full physical custody of Chloe, with supervised visitation for him only at my discretion. I want 70% of the liquid assets. I want spousal support that makes his eyes water. I want child support that covers private school, ponies, and a trust fund for Harvard. That's a good start, Lena said, a flicker of approval in her eyes. And him? I thought of the birthday card. To my brave little man, that I thought of Chloe's face, trying so hard to be brave. I thought of the sign on the door. And Derek, I want him financially gutted. I said, my voice low and even. I want his partners at the fund to know he's a liability who used their resources to fund a secret family. I want his reputation in ashes. I want that woman's pristine suburban community to know exactly who and what moved in next door. I want him to look at everything he built with me, the connections, the status, the respect, and watch it crumble because he was too greedy to be satisfied with one life. I paused, the final piece of the puzzle clicking into a cold, perfect resolution. And I want him to understand, in his bones, that the son he chose over his daughter will grow up knowing his father is a liar, a cheat, and a failure. Lena didn't flinch. She simply picked up her pen. Good. Now, let's draft the initial strategy. We'll start with the LLC and the Funds Compliance Department. Quietly, I looked at the photos one last time before gathering them up and sliding them back into the envelope. The evidence. My weapons. No, I said, standing up straight. The hollow feeling was gone, filled now with a purpose as sharp as a scalpel. We start with Vivian Chin. I want to know everything about her, her work, her friends, her ex-husband, her parents. I want to know what she wants, what she fears, and exactly how deep her ignorance, or her complicity goes. I smiled then, a thin, humorless curve of my lips. Before you burn down a man's house, Lena, it's only polite to introduce yourself to his other wife. The air in the Museum of Modern Art's atrium was a visible haze of chilled champagne, expensive perfume, and unadulterated ambition. I, Thea Thornton, stood at the center of it, a smile carved from ice and painted with the perfect shade of crimson. The annual MoMA Gala, the crown jewel of my foundation's social calendar, was in full, dazzling swing, 1,000 glittering guests, a 7-figure fundraising goal, and a silent auction featuring a de Kooning sketch. It was my night, our night, the night Derek's professional survival, tethered to the perception of a stable, powerful marriage, depended on. I felt his presence beside me before I saw him. His hand landed on the small of my back, a proprietary gesture that now made my skin crawl. You're a vision tonight, Thea, Derek murmured, his breath warm against my ear. He was in his element, the tuxedo impeccable, the smile confident, the easy charm turned up to full wattage. The golden boy of Asclepius capital, beloved by investors for his Midas touch, envied by rivals for his beautiful, connected wife. I tilted my head, offering him the flawless profile I knew the society photographers loved. And you're the talk of the room, darling. Grayson from the Times was just asking about your take on the Asia-Pacific volatility. I told him you'd find him after dinner. I squeezed his arm, feeling the fine wool of his sleeve under my fingers. My prop, I thought coldly, for a few more hours. You're a marvel, he said, and for a split second, I saw a flicker of genuine relief in his eyes. Relief that I was playing my part, that the facade was holding. He'd been nervous since moving to the Lowell Hotel a week ago, jumpy at my calm compliance, my cool acceptance of his need for space to focus on the deal. He'd expected tears, hysterics, demands. He'd gotten serene detachment. It unnerved him. Good. Thea. Darling. Derek. Meredith Carlyle swept over, a cyclone in emerald green. She air-kissed us both, her eyes, sharp as scalpels, missing nothing. Another triumph. The buzz is incredible. And the de Kooning. I've already bid twice. She linked her arm through mine, subtly pulling me a half step away from Derek. Darling, a word? The mayor's wife wants an introduction to the chair of the acquisitions committee, and you're the only sorceress who can make that happen. As Meredith steered me through the crowd, she leaned in, her voice a razor in velvet. He looks like he's waiting for a root canal. What did you do? Nothing yet, I said, my smile never wavering as I waved to a major donor across the room, just letting him marinate. The marinade is working. He's sweating through his Tom Ford. She gave my arm a quick, fierce squeeze. Kick off in 10. You ready? Born ready. The dinner was a blur of seared scallops and murmured flatteries. I worked the room from my seat, a queen holding court, effortlessly connecting people, securing soft pledges, reinforcing the web of influence I'd spent years weaving that a web Derek was now caught in. He held up his end, discussing market trends with the heavy hitters, but his glances towards the dais grew more frequent as the time for the speeches approached. Finally, the master of ceremonies, a silver-haired news anchor, tapped his glass, and now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the heart and soul of the Thornton Foundation, a woman whose grace, intelligence, and tireless dedication have changed countless lives. Please welcome Thea Thornton. The applause was a physical wave. I ascended the steps, the spotlight warm on my skin. I adjusted the microphone, letting my gaze sweep the sea of expectant, admiring faces. I found Derek's table. He was leaning back, a proud smile on his face, the picture of spousal support. Our eyes locked. Thank you. Thank you all. I began, my voice clear and warm in the hushed room. 7 years ago, when Derek and I started this foundation, we dreamed of building not just a charity, but a community that believes in lifting as we climb. I paused, a practiced, heartfelt beat, and community starts at home. It starts with family. I saw Derek's smile tighten, just a fraction, being a working parent. It's the greatest juggling act in the world. I continued, my tone turning intimate, conspiratorial. A murmur of agreement rippled through the audience. The missed bedtimes, the school plays you watch on video because you're stuck in traffic, the birthdays. I let my voice soften, just a touch. Our daughter, Chloe, just turned 7. A wave of affectionate awes from the tables. And as any parent here knows, a child's birthday is sacred. It's a day where the world should stop, just for them. I looked directly at Derek now. His knuckles were white around his champagne flute. My wonderful husband, Derek, knows this better than anyone. His work is demanding, all-consuming. Really, the travel, the pressure. I shook my head with a wifely mix of exasperation and pride. This past month, he's been in San Francisco, day and night, trying to close a deal that's vital for his fund, for all the people who depend on him. I saw the confusion on some faces, the sympathetic nods on others. Where was I going with this? He missed Chloe's birthday party. He was heartbroken. My voice caught perfectly. I saw several women dab at their eyes. But you know what he did? I paused, letting the suspense build. From 3,000 miles away, buried in spreadsheets and conference calls, he managed to find and send the one gift she wanted more than anything in the world. The biggest, most elaborate enchanted castle Lego set ever made. I laughed. A sweet, charming sound. It was so big, the delivery men almost got stuck in our front door. The room erupted in warm laughter. The tension broke. I was just a proud wife, bragging on her devoted, if absent, husband. I waited for the laughter to subside. I leaned into the microphone, my voice dropping to a sincere, heartfelt register, because that's who Derek is, even when the weight of the world is on his shoulders, even from the other side of the country. He always puts his family first. The applause was thunderous, a standing ovation. People were nodding, smiling, looking at Derek with renewed admiration. What a guy! What a family man! Derek was standing too, clapping, a strained smile on his face. But his eyes, as they met mine over the cheering crowd, were wide with dawning, panicked comprehension. He heard it. He heard the knife hidden in the honey. From 3,000 miles away, the other side of the country, always puts his family first. He heard the echo of a card that said to my brave little man, the perfect public compliment that was, for him, an exquisitely calibrated threat. I blew him a kiss from the stage. The car ride home was silent, a moving tomb. The partition was up, giving us the illusion of privacy. Derek stared out the window at the blur of Central Park West lights. That was quite a speech. He said finally, his voice unnaturally calm. Thank you, I said, checking my reflection in my compact, smoothing a non-existent strand of hair. I thought it went well. The donations are already spiking. Grayson said he's running a profile on the foundation next week. Thea, he said my name like it was a warning. What is going on? He turned to look at me, his face pale in the passing streetlights. You've been distant. This thing with the hotel. I needed space to think. This deal is a nightmare. I'm sure it is, I said, snapping the compact shut. Deals often are, especially the long-term ones. The town car pulled up to our building. We rode the elevator up in a silence so thick it was suffocating. The moment the penthouse door closed behind us, the carefully maintained pretense shattered. Okay, enough, Derek exploded, throwing his jacket over a chair. The silent treatment, the cryptic little digs at the gala. What do you want? Thea, an apology for being gone? Fine, I'm sorry. I'm sorry the deal ate my life. It's done now. Can we please get back to normal? Normal? I asked, my voice quiet. I walked to the sideboard and poured 2 fingers of bourbon. Not for him. For me. I took a slow sip, letting the burn steady me. What exactly is normal? Derek? Is it you being here, present, for your daughter? Or is it you being in California, with your other family? The color drained from his face completely. What are you talking about? I didn't answer. I placed my glass down, picked up the iPad from the coffee table, tapped it a few times, and turned it to face him. On the screen was the audio player. A single file loaded. I pressed play. The sound of a quiet suburban street filled the room. Then, Derek's voice, clear as a bell, warm and relaxed in a way I hadn't heard in years. Come on, my boy, run. You've got it. Go. Liam, go. A child's laughter. Then Derek's voice again, closer, brimming with pride. That's it. You're a natural. Daddy's so proud of you. I stopped the recording. The silence that followed was absolute, broken only by the faint hum of the Sub-Zero in the kitchen. Derek stared at the iPad as if it were a live serpent. His mouth opened, then closed. He looked at me, his eyes wide with a mixture of terror and disbelief. What is this? Thea, that's not. It's out of context. I was just what? I interrupted, my voice lethally soft. Just coaching a client's son? Just being a mentor? Just calling some random little boy in Burlingame my boy and telling him, Daddy's so proud. He flinched as if struck. The name of the town was the Kill Shot. He hadn't even known I knew that much. It's not what you think. He stammered, backing away a step. It's a mistake. A terrible, stupid mistake. It was a moment of weakness. Years ago. It's over. It meant nothing. A mistake. I repeated, nodding slowly. I picked up the iPad again, swiping to a new screen. I'd prepared a slideshow. A mistake that has a birthday. October 12th. A picture of Liam's school record. The date circled. A mistake that lives in a 3-bedroom townhouse on Primrose Lane. A picture of the property deed. A mistake that you bought with money from the Horizon View Holdings LLC. A bank statement. A mistake that you visit, according to your flight records, for 117 days a year, on average, for the past 4 years. A spreadsheet of flight data. A mistake that is a child. Derek, a son, 5 days younger than our daughter. With each piece of evidence, his defenses crumbled. The bluster left him. He sank into an armchair, his head in his hands. Oh, God. Thea, please. Please what? I asked, standing over him. The glacial fury was back, giving my words the weight of ice. Please understand. I do. I understand perfectly. You have a wife in New York who manages your social capital, raises your child, and makes you look like a stable, philanthropic family man to your investors. And you have a girlfriend in California who gives you the domestic bliss you can't be bothered to cultivate here, and a son to carry on your glorious name. You get to have it all, and all it costs is the complete and utter betrayal of everyone who trusts you. It's not like that. He cried, looking up, his face streaked with tears now, of panic or remorse. I couldn't tell and didn't care. Vivian, it started before Chloe was born. It was a fling, and then she got pregnant, and I was trapped. I had to provide for them. But you and Chloe, you're my real family. This, here, is my life. Had to provide? I let out a short, bitter laugh. With our money? With the resources from the life it helped you build? You didn't have Vito do anything. You Chosito. You chose to lie. You chose to steal time from your daughter. You chose to write to my brave little man on a birthday card while you couldn't even be bothered to FaceTime your own child on her birthday. He had no answer. He just stared at me, hollowed out. I took a deep breath, the finality of the moment settling over me. I'm only going to say this once. Tomorrow morning, you will pack a bag and you will move out. Permanently. You will go back to the Lowell or to a cardboard box. I don't care. You will not contact Chloe. You will not come here unless explicitly invited. You can't do this, he whispered. A last, pathetic spark of defiance. I already have, I said, my tone turning businesslike. My lawyer, Lena Rossi, will be in touch with you tomorrow. You will sign the documents she provides. They will include terms for separation, a freeze on all joint and corporate assets, pending full forensic accounting, and a temporary custody arrangement granting me sole physical and legal custody of Chloe. Lena, your friend, you've lawyered up? He looked horrified. Thea, we can work this out. We can go to counseling. For Chloe's sake. There is no we. I said, each word a nail in the coffin. And everything I am doing is for Chloe's sake. You forfeited the right to use her name, to manipulate me the moment you started a second family. I walked to the door, opening it. If you cooperate, if you are sensible and quiet, you may walk away with something. Not half, but something. Your reputation at the fund might survive, albeit tarnished. You might even maintain some relationship with your son in California. I looked at him, a stranger in my living room. If you fight me, Derek, I will use every connection, every favor, every piece of dirt I have ever politely ignored. To destroy you, I will take everything. I will make sure Asclepius Capital knows you've been using fund resources to finance your secret life. I will make sure every society page, every financial blog, knows the story. I will sue Vivian for intentional infliction of emotional distress and alienation of affection. I will make your life, and her life, and that little boy's life, a living hell. The choice is yours. He stared at me, his face a mask of shock and terror. The man who closed billion-dollar deals, who commanded boardrooms, was utterly broken. Get out, I said, my voice flat. I have a breakfast meeting with the head of the museum's board at 8. I need my sleep. He stood, shakily, and walked to the door. He paused on the threshold, looking back at me, a ghost of his old charm trying to surface. Thea, I never meant to hurt you. I met his gaze, my own eyes dry and empty. That's the tragedy. Derek, you never meant to do a lot of things. You just did them. I closed the door in his face. The soft, solid click of the lock engaging was the most satisfying sound I had ever heard. I leaned against the door, the adrenaline draining away, leaving me trembling. But I didn't cry. I walked to the window, looking out at the glittering, indifferent city. Project accountability. I thought. Phase 1. Complete. I picked up my phone and texted Lena. The package has been delivered. Recipient is moving out. Proceed with Phase 2. Her reply was almost instant. Copy that. The chessboard is set. His move. I smiled. A real one this time. Thin and cold. Let him try to move. Every piece was already mine. The silence in the penthouse the next morning was a physical presence. It wasn't the quiet of an empty home, but the thick, resonant silence of a vacuum where a lie had once lived. I poured myself a cup of coffee, the rich scent grounding me. I had slept, a deep, dreamless sleep of the utterly resolved. There was no more uncertainty, no more sickening dread. There was only a battlefield, and I had the high ground. My phone buzzed on the marble counter. Lena, right on time. He's at the Lowell. She said, no greeting necessary. Checked in an hour ago. Looked like hell. According to the concierge I spoke to. What's the status on your end? The status is that I'm having coffee, and Chloe is at school, blissfully unaware that her father won't be coming home for dinner, or ever again. My voice was calm, detached. He left without a fight. I think you broke him with the prospect of Vivian getting sued. A short, satisfied hum came through the phone. Good. The illusion of control is a powerful thing. He thinks he can still manage this. Let him. The documents are being messengered to his hotel as we speak. The separation agreement. the temporary restraining order on assets, the custody petition. It's comprehensive. Define comprehensive. Lena's tone shifted to the dry, precise legalese she used in court. Full physical and legal custody of Chloe, with his visitation contingent on your approval and supervised for the first 6 months. Exclusive use and possession of the Fifth Avenue residence. A complete freeze on all joint accounts and a demand for full financial disclosure, including all records related to Horizon View Holdings and any other shell entities. Spousal support at a rate that will make him bleed. Retroactive to the start of this merger trip. A preliminary injunction preventing him from transferring, encumbering, or dissipating any marital assets. And a clause stating that his failure to disclose the existence of a child from an extramarital relationship constitutes marital misconduct and financial fraud, which will be considered in the final division of property. I took a slow sip of coffee. It tasted like victory. He'll never sign it. Of course he won't. Not initially. It's the opening salvo. It tells him exactly how much we know and exactly how little mercy he can expect. It's designed to shock him into a more reasonable, for us, the settlement. He'll call his lawyer, some shark from Cravath, and they'll fire back with something laughable. Then the real game begins. I don't want a reasonable settlement. Lena, I want scorched earth. And you shall have it, my dear. But scorched earth is expensive, and it takes time. We burn him methodically. First, we cut off the money. Then, we cut off the reputation. Then, we take the rest. I could hear the rustle of papers. My investigator, Walsh, has a preliminary dossier on Dr. Vivian Chin. Would you like the highlights? Or shall I save it for when you're in a more flammable mood? Give it to me. Knowledge is ammunition. Vivian Chin, 35, born in Cupertino. Only child. Parents are first-gen Taiwanese immigrants. Retired academics. Ex-husband is Andrew Chin, also a doctor, orthopedic surgeon. Divorced 3 years ago. Finalized just before she closed on the Burlingame house with your money. No fault. Amicable split. On paper. Walsh is digging there. Exes are rarely truly amicable. She's clean professionally. Well-liked at Stanford Children's. Brilliant by all accounts. On the partner track. Sits on the board of a small, prestigious private school in Hillsborough, at the same school her son. Liam. Attends. Tuition. $52,000 a year. Paid for by a family trust. Guess who's the trustee of that Delaware LLC? A cold, not tightened in my stomach. My daughter went to a fantastic public school. By choice. We believed in it. He was paying Ivy League tuition for his secret son in kindergarten. Socially, Lena continued. She's quiet, not a big part of the San Francisco society scene. Her friends are mostly other doctors, academics. The picture Walsh paints is of a smart, somewhat insulated woman who got pregnant by a charismatic older man who promised her the world, or at least a very nice townhouse in a good school district. She might not know the full extent of his deception, or she might be a very good actress. I set my coffee cup down with a sharp click. I need to know which. I'm going out there. A beat of silence. Thea, that's a risk. If he finds out, he'll be too busy reading your 70-page legal broadside to notice. Besides, I'm not going to confront her. I'm going to observe. The Pediatric Wellness Gala at the DeYoung Museum is next week. My foundation made a sizable donation last year. I'm sure I can wangle an invitation. You're going to walk into her territory? Lena sounded wary, but I could hear the intrigue in her voice. I'm going to look the other woman in the eye. Lena, I need to see her. I need to know what I'm dealing with. And maybe, I allowed a thin smile, maybe I can plant a seed. The DeYoung Museum was a shimmering bronze labyrinth under the San Francisco fog. The gala was in full swing, a more subdued, wine and canapes affair than the MoMA extravaganza, populated with Patagonia-vested tech philanthropists and intelligentsia in understated designer wear. I'd used a contact on the hospital board, expressing a sudden, personal interest in pediatric cardiac care after a friend's child was treated at Stanford. A platinum-level donor gets what a platinum-level donor wants. I saw her almost immediately. Vivian Chin was across the room, near a towering sculpture, talking with an older couple. She was more striking in person than in the photos, not classically beautiful, but with a sharp, intelligent grace. She wore a simple but exquisite navy sheath dress, her dark hair in a sleek bob. She was listening intently, nodding, a professional smile on her lips. She looked normal, pleasant, like someone you'd trust with your sick child. My heart hammered against my ribs, a traitorous drum of pure, undiluted hatred. I forced it down, smoothed the skirt of my cream-colored Valentino, and began to move through the crowd. I worked the room, a skill as natural as breathing, a word to the chief of pediatrics, a laugh with a Nobel laureate in genetics, a thoughtful question to a venture capitalist funding gene therapy. I was Thea Thornton of New York, gracious, curious, generous. It took 20 minutes to engineer the collision. I was admiring a particularly bleak modern painting next to the champagne fountain when the hospital's development director, a relentlessly cheerful woman named Susan, guided Vivian over. Dr. Chin, there you are. I wanted to introduce you to one of our most wonderful new supporters, Thea Thornton. This is Dr. Vivian Chin, one of our stars in pediatric cardiology. Thea's foundation in New York just made a tremendously generous gift to our new imaging wing. Vivian turned, her polite, professional smile in place. It didn't waver when she saw me, but something shifted in her eyes, a flicker of assessment, of recognition. Did she know what I looked like? Had he shown her pictures? Or was it just the standard appraisal one powerful woman gives another? Mrs. Thornton, she said, extending a hand. Her grip was cool, firm. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for your support. It will make a real difference. The pleasure is mine. Dr. Chin, I said, my smile warm, my tone easy. Please, call me Thea. Your work is extraordinary. I was just speaking to Dr. Evans about the innovations in non-invasive procedures. It's breathtaking. We fell into the kind of superficial, meaningful chatter that defines charity events. We talked about the challenges of healthcare, the promise of technology. She was sharp, articulate, passionate about her work. It made the bile rise in my throat. This woman, this capable, educated, seemingly principled woman, was happily sharing my husband, spending my money, living in a house my social capital had helped pay for. It must be so challenging, I said, sipping my champagne, balancing such a demanding career with family. I have a young daughter myself. The guilt is a constant companion, isn't it? Her smile became slightly fixed. It is, but a supportive partner makes all the difference. The words were smooth, practiced, but her eyes darted away for a fraction of a second. Oh, absolutely. I gushed, leaning in conspiratorially. My husband is in finance. The travel is relentless. He's actually in San Francisco quite a lot. Mergers and acquisitions. I watched her face closely, a tiny, almost imperceptible tightening around her mouth, a slight stillness in her posture. Maybe you've crossed paths? Derek Thornton? He's with Asclepius Capital. The reaction was subtle, but to someone looking for it, it was a screaming siren. Her breath caught, just for a millisecond. The color drained from her face, leaving her looking suddenly pale under the museum lights. She recovered quickly, a masterclass in composure, but the mask had slipped. The name doesn't ring a bell. Finance isn't really my world. Her voice was a shade too bright. Of course, I said, waving a dismissive hand. It's a big city, and men like Derek, they're all the same, aren't they? So married to their work, always promising to be present. But then another deal, another trip. I sighed, the long-suffering wife, Sometimes I think if they spent half as much energy on their families as they do on their portfolios, the world would be a different place. She was staring at me, her dark eyes wide with a dawning, horrified comprehension. She was putting it together. The name, the New York Foundation, the probing questions, the look in my eye, which was no longer merely gracious, but probing, knowing. It's a common struggle, she managed to say, her voice strained. She glanced over her shoulder, a clear signal of distress. If you'll excuse me, I see someone I need to. Of course, I said smoothly, not moving. Don't let me keep you. It was so lovely to meet you, Vivian. Truly, I'll be following your work with great interest. I let my gaze hold hers for a beat too long, letting the unspoken words hang in the air between us. I see you. I know you, and you are in way over your head. She gave a stiff nod and practically fled, melting into the crowd. I turned back to the bleak painting, a satisfied chill settling in my bones. Seed planted, the soil was fertile with fear. Now, to water it, back in New York. The chessboard was alive with movement. Derek, through his lawyer, had fired back with a counterpetition. It accused me of being overly adversarial, of attempting to alienate the child from her father, and proposed a 50-50 split of everything, including custody. It was a weak, predictable opening move, born of panic and bad legal advice. Lena was delighted. He's playing the victim. She crowed over the phone. Perfect. It makes him look even more manipulative when the facts come out. His lawyer is a pit bull named Mitchell Croft. All bluster, no subtlety. He's already demanding a paternity test for Liam. As if that's the issue. Let him demand, I said, staring at the financial disclosures Lena's forensic accountant had begun to unravel. The flow of money from Derek's fund, through the labyrinth of holding companies, to the Burlingame mortgage and Liam's tuition, was becoming a clear, damning roadmap. How's our pressure on the fund going? Quietly and beautifully, Lena said. I had a very off-the-record lunch with a general counsel from one of Asclepius's largest institutional investors, a friend of a friend. I merely expressed concern about the personal conduct of a key partner potentially creating reputational risk, especially regarding the commingling of personal and fund expenses. The words fiduciary duty and compliance review were mentioned. They're initiating an internal audit. Nothing public, but Derek will be called in to explain some very interesting transactions. Good. Attack from all sides. Law, finance, social. I had one more piece to play on the social front. I invited Meredith, along with two other key friends, Eleanor Vance, whose husband owned the city's most influential society blog, and Beatrice Bunny Winthrop, a woman whose family name was synonymous with old money and who could make or break a reputation with a single, well-placed side for an urgent girls' lunch at my home, over kale salads and iced tea. I broke down, not the messy, snotty breakdown of the gala aftermath, but a curated, devastating performance of a strong woman finally succumbing to grief. I showed them the birthday card, my hands trembling. I showed them the flight records, printed out. I held back the photos of Vivian and Liam that was a nuclear option, but I gave them the financials, the LLC, the payments. He has a son, Beatrice, I whispered, a single, perfect tear tracing its way down my cheek. I'd practiced that tear in the mirror. A little boy, the same age as Chloe. He bought them a house. He goes to his baseball games. He calls him my brave little man, while he sends our daughter a gift with the wrong card. My voice broke on the last word. The reaction was everything I hoped for. Meredith, who knew most of it, played her part perfectly, clutching my hand, her face a mask of fury. Eleanor's eyes were wide with the gleam of a journalist who'd just been handed the story of the season, wrapped in a bow of personal tragedy. Bunny Winthrop's lips pursed into a thin, bloodless line of utter, aristocratic disgust, A second family, Bunny said, the words dropping like stones. In California, using marital assets. It's common. It's vulgar. He missed her first steps. I said, my voice hollow. He was at a conference. He missed her kindergarten graduation. He was doing due diligence. He missed every birthday. He was building a life with them. Eleanor reached over, her hand covering mine. Thea, this is monstrous. You have to go public. You have to destroy him. No, I said, shaking my head with a show of weary nobility. Not for me. For Chloe. I don't want a circus. I need my friends to know the truth. Because he's already telling people I'm difficult. That I'm driving him away. That I'm unstable. Bunny's snort could have frozen hell. Unstable. Please. The man is a liar and a fraud. He's been trading on your name. Your connections. For years. The charity boards. The club memberships. All because of you. She drew herself up. Consider him unwelcome at the Harbor Club. I'll have a word with the membership committee. And the Met Gala chair. Eleanor added, her mind already writing headlines. His ticket came through your seat on the board. I think that invitation might get lost. The network was activating. The silent, powerful machinery of social ostracization was grinding to life. Derek would find his RSVPs going unanswered, his calls unreturned, his presence at the events that oiled the wheels of his career suddenly, inexplicably, unwelcome, after they left, full of righteous indignation and promises of support. I went to Chloe's room. She was building the Lego castle, a fortress of bright plastic spreading across her rug. She'd made surprising progress. Hey, my love, I said, sitting beside her. Hi, Mommy. Look, I did the drawbridge all by myself. Her small face was a portrait of concentration. It's amazing. Sweetie, you're so clever. I watched her small hands snap pieces together. Chloe, you know Daddy and I are going through a hard time right now. He's going to be living somewhere else for a while. She didn't look up, focusing on a turret. Is it because he's always at work? My heart cracked a little. In a way, yes. He hasn't been the kind of daddy he should be. And sometimes, when grown-ups can't be good partners, they need to live apart so they can be better parents. Is he going to live in San Francisco? She asked, her voice small. The question was so innocent, so precise. It stole my breath. For some of the time. Maybe. But that doesn't mean he doesn't love you. It just means Mommy is going to be the one who's here. All the time. Okay. She finally looked at me. Her blue eyes so like his. But clearer. Kinda. Okay. As long as you're here. She went back to her Legos. Can we get a dog? I let out a watery laugh, pulling her into a hug, smelling the strawberry scent of her shampoo. We can absolutely get a dog. Later that night, as I reviewed the latest documents from Lena, a motion to compel Derek to produce all communications related to the Burlingame property, my phone lit up with a call from an unknown San Francisco number. My blood went cold. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a notification popped up. A voicemail. I put it on speaker. My hand steady. A woman's voice. Tense. Hushed. Filled the quiet study. Mrs. Thornton. Thea, this is Vivian Chin. We met at the DeYoung. I think we need to talk. Please. It's about Derek. Please call me back. There was a long pause, filled with shaky breath. I think he's lied to both of us. I stared at the phone. A slow, cold smile spreading across my face. Checkmate was in sight, and the queen was ready to move. The voicemail from Vivian Chun hung in the air of my study. A disembodied tremor of fear that was more satisfying than any symphony. I didn't call her back. Not immediately. Let her stew. Let the seed of doubt I'd planted at the DeYoung germinate in the dark. Fertile soil of her own anxiety. Panic made people stupid. Panic made them talk. Instead, I focused on tightening the screws in New York. Derek's pathetic counterpetition had been filed, and Lena's response was a masterpiece of legal evisceration. It didn't just refute his claims, it laid out, in cold, numbered paragraphs, a timeline of his deception, supported by flight records, financial transfers, and the sworn affidavit of our tearful, loyal accountant, Gary. It was delivered not just to the court and Derek's lawyer, but through a carefully calculated leak to the three most influential members of the executive committee at Asclepius Capital. The effect was immediate and played out in a series of tense phone calls I monitored through Lena. "He's been summoned," Lena reported, her voice crackling with grim satisfaction. "Not by HR, by the full partnership committee. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. They're calling it a compliance and reputational risk assessment. In hedge fund speak, that's a firing squad. Do they have the financial tie?" I asked, staring out at the spring rain lashing against my windows. "The fund money to the LLC? They will by the time he walks in. My contact at the institutional investor made sure of it. They've flagged every transfer from the Asclepius management fee pool that went to Horizon View Holdings. It's not a huge sum in the grand scheme, but it's a breach of fiduciary duty, so clear a child could see it. He used investor money to pay his mistress's mortgage. Thea, it's over for him there. Good. One pillar crumbling. Now for the next." My urgent girls' lunch had borne poisoned fruit with astonishing speed. Beatrice Bunny Winthrop's influence was a quiet, devastating force. The uninvitation to the Harbor Club's spring regatta dinner was the first sign. Derek's name simply vanished from the digital seating chart. His assistant's confused call to the club manager was met with a polite, "Frosty, we regret the oversight, but the guest list has been finalized." Then came the call from the chair of the Metropolitan Museum's Costume Institute Gala Committee, the social event of the year, where Derek's presence had been a given thanks to my seat on the board. I took the call on speakerphone in my kitchen, calmly chopping vegetables for Chloe's dinner. "Thea, darling, it's Cynthia. How are you holding up?" Her voice dripped with saccharine concern. "Day by day. Cynthia, thank you for asking." I made my voice sound bravely strained. Of course. I'm actually calling about a rather delicate matter. Regarding the gala tables, there's been some talk. You see, with the situation between you and Derek becoming more widely known, the committee feels that having you both at the same table, or even in the same room, might create an awkward atmosphere for the other donors. I stopped chopping. "I see. And what does the committee suggest?" A relieved sigh. "We thought, in the interest of allowing you to enjoy the evening without any additional stress, that perhaps it would be best if Derek's invitation was rescinded, just for this year, to let things settle." I let the silence stretch, allowing her to sweat. "That's probably for the best," I said finally, my voice soft with wounded dignity. "I wouldn't want to make anyone uncomfortable. The foundation's work is too important. You're an angel, Thea, a true angel. We'll see you at your usual table. Can't wait." I hung up and resumed chopping, the crisp thwack of the knife a satisfying counterpoint to the silent destruction of Derek's social capital. Eleanor Vance, true to her word, had begun her work. No article appeared, but the Whisper Network was electric. At a Cipriani power breakfast, I bumped into Meredith, who was having coffee with a famously catty society columnist. "Thea, just the woman I wanted to see," Meredith called, waving me over. "Margot, you know Thea Thornton." Of course, Margot, a woman with the eyes of a hawk and the morals of a tabloid, gave me a once-over. "Of course. My dear, you look exhausted. This business with your husband, it's all anyone can talk about. A secret son in California? It's like a tawdry paperback." I allowed my composure to slip. "Just a hair." I looked down at my hands. "It's private and very painful. For our daughter most of all. A child involved." Margot tutayed, her eyes alight with the glow of a perfect. Juicy scandal. That makes it so much worse. The betrayal isn't just of you. It's of that innocent little girl. He missed her birthdays, you said, and so it went. I didn't need to give an interview. I just needed to look heartbroken in the right places and let the vultures do the rest. The story, polished and embellished, spread from the ladies who lunched to their husbands on the golf course. Derek Thornton wasn't just a philanderer. He was a man who jeopardized the social stability that greased the wheels of their world. He was bad for business. 3 days after Vivian's voicemail, I finally called her back. I did it from a park bench near Chloe's school, a place of mundane normalcy that felt like the perfect cover for the conversation to come. She answered on the first ring, her voice a tense whisper. "Hello, Vivian. It's Thea Thornton." A sharp intake of breath. "You called back. You said you thought we needed to talk. So talk. Not on the phone. In person. Please. I'm in New York. Vivian, you're in California. That's not how this works. Say what you need to say." There was a long pause, filled with the sound of her shaky breathing. I could picture her, hiding in a hospital supply closet or an empty exam room. "He told me you were separated." She blurted out, the words tumbling over each other. "Years ago, he said it was amicable, but messy, that you stayed in New York for your foundation work and Chloe's school, and he split his time. He said you had an understanding, a modern arrangement." I let the lie hang in the air, let her hear its absurdity. "Did you?" I asked, my voice flat. "What? Have an understanding? With me? Did we ever meet? Did we ever sign a contract? Did I ever give you permission to share my husband? To use the money from our joint life to buy your house? To send your son to a school that costs more than some people's salaries?" It wasn't like that. Her whisper was fierce now, defensive. "He provided for Liam. He's his father. He's Chloe's father, too. And he provided for her by being absent. Well, he provided for you by being present. He made a choice, Vivian, every single day. For years. He chose you and Liam over me and Chloe. He just forgot to tell any of us he was making it." Silence. Then, a small, broken sound. "The house, the LLC. He said it was an investment vehicle. For tax purposes. For our future. Our future." I repeated, "Ours. Not mine. Not my daughter's. He's been diverting money that belongs, in part, to me. To build a future with you. That's not a misunderstanding. That's fraud." I didn't know. She pleaded, and for the first time, I heard genuine tears in her voice. "I'm a doctor. For God's sake. I have my own money. My own career. I didn't need his. I thought he was divorced." "Did you?" I asked, my tone softening deliberately, shifting from accuser to potential ally. "Or did you just not ask the questions you were afraid to know the answers to?" A handsome, wealthy financier shows up, wants to take care of you and your son, buys you a house in the best school district. Did you really look at the paperwork, Vivian? Or did you just sign where he told you to? She didn't answer. The truth was answer enough. "He's in trouble," I said, changing tack. "Serious trouble. His firm is investigating him for misusing funds. The life he has here in New York, the reputation, the connections, the career, it's collapsing. And when it falls, everything tied to it gets buried in the rubble, including that house, including that tuition." "What are you saying?" Her voice was pure panic now. "I'm saying you're about to be a single mother of a 7-year-old boy, publicly humiliated as the other woman in a huge financial and sex scandal, living in a house you might lose, with a son whose father might be going to jail, or at the very least, will be bankrupt and unemployable." I paused, letting the apocalyptic vision sink in. "How's that for a future?" "Oh, God." It was a moan. "You have a choice, Vivian. You can go down with his ship, or you can get in a lifeboat." "A lifeboat?" She echoed weakly. "My lawyer is Lena Rossi. She's the best in the city. She's drawing up a civil suit against Derek for intentional infliction of emotional distress, fraud, and unjust enrichment. The complaint will name you as a co-conspirator, benefiting from the fraud. This was a strategic lie. Suing her was messy and of limited value. But she didn't know that. You'll be dragged through the mud. Your career at Stanford, your son's place at that lovely school, it won't survive the discovery process. The local moms will eat you alive. I could hear her hyperventilating on the other end of the line. Or, I continued, my voice dropping to a confidential murmur. You can agree to provide a sworn affidavit detailing the timeline of your relationship. As Derek presented it to you, the lies he told you about his marriage, his financial support, everything. In exchange, my lawsuit against you disappears. You walk away. You keep your job, your son's school, your privacy, and you get to be the victim, not the villain. You want me to testify against him? She whispered, horrified. I want you to tell the truth. The truth protects you. His lies destroyed you. It's that simple. I softened my voice further. He played us both. Vivian, he made fools of us. He used my resources to play house with you. And he used your compliance to bolster his own ego and avoid the hard work of being a real husband and father. We don't owe him loyalty. We owe it to our children not to let him destroy any more lives. There was a long, long silence. I watched a sparrow hop along the path, utterly free. Finally, she spoke, her voice hollow, defeated. What would I have to do? I smiled, a cold, private curve of my lips. I'll have my lawyer call you. Just tell her the truth. All of it. Then, you block Derek's number. Change your locks. And live your life. Consider it a late lesson in due diligence. I hung up before she could reply. The sparrow flew away. The unraveling reached its climax the following week. The pressure from all sides, legal, financial, social, that had turned Derek from a panicked man into a desperate, reckless one. Lena's investigator, Walsh, reported a furious argument overheard outside the Burlingame townhouse. Derek had flown out, unannounced, likely after being suspended from Asclepius. Walsh's parabolic microphone had caught the highlights. Derek's voice, raw with anger. You talked to her? You called my wife? Are you insane? Vivian's voice, higher, strained. She's not your wife. You said she was your ex. You lied to me. Derek, you lied about everything. I provided for you. I gave you everything. You gave me a life built on a lie. She's going to sue me. She knows about the money from the fund. My career. Liam's school. I'll handle it. I've always handled everything. You can't handle this. They've frozen everything. The school called about tuition. Your firm called my hospital. Derek, my chief of staff, asked me about improprieties. You've ruined me. God damn it. Vivian, I'm trying to save us. There is no us. Not anymore. Get out. Get out of my house. My house. I pay for it. With stolen money. Now, get out before I call the police and tell them you're harassing me. The recording ended with the sound of a door slamming. Walsh's written summary noted that Derek had gotten into a rental car and driven away, speeding. Perfect. The alliance was broken. The fortress was crumbling from within. It was time for my final, personal stroke. I invited Meredith, Eleanor, and Bunny back to the penthouse. This time, there was no performance of grief. There was only the cold, hard presentation of facts. I poured them stiff drinks and laid the photos from Walsh's dossier on the coffee table. The family Halloween portrait. Derek pushing Liam on the swing. The Chun Derek sign. I told them everything. The 7 years of lies. The financial machinations. The sunborn days from Chloe. The birthday card. I showed them the bank statements. The LLC documents. I played them the audio of the fight in Burlingame. The reaction was beyond anything I could have hoped for. Bunny Winthrop looked physically ill, as if she'd swallowed something foul. A second child. She breathed. He's created a bastard line with a professional woman he's swindled. It's gothic. It's monstrous. Eleanor Vance was taking notes on a napkin. Her journalist's mind whirring. The fund money. That's the key. That's what makes it more than a sordid affair. It's fraud. It's a story about power, privilege, and the absolute corruption of it. Meredith just sipped her gin, a slow smile of predatory satisfaction on her face. He's finished. Completely finished. No firm will touch him. No club will have him. He'll be selling insurance in Ohio within a year. I don't want him in Ohio, I said, my voice quiet but clear in the stunned room. I want him to feel it. I want him to sit in an empty apartment with no job, no friends, no invitations, and realize that every single good thing in his life, that every connection, every bit of respect, every comfort that came through me, and I have taken it all back. I looked at each of them. I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm just showing you the man you've been breaking bread with, the man whose hand you've shaken, the man who was using all of us. It was a declaration of war, and I had just enlisted 3 of the most powerful generals in the city. The next morning, the first ripple hit the public sphere. No major newspaper story, not yet, but on Eleanor Vance's hugely influential society blog, the Manhattan Ledger, a new post appeared. The headline was a masterclass in understated venom, on loyalty, and the high cost of a double life. It didn't name names. It spoke in elegant, cutting generalities about certain captains of finance who confuse personal portfolios with marital assets, and pillars of charity who are hollow at the core. It lamented the true casualties being the innocent children in Manhattan and beyond, who learned that a father's love can be a scheduled, long-distance commodity. Anyone in our world would read it and know exactly who and what it meant. My phone blew up with calls of support. Derek phone, I knew, would be ringing with silence. Later that afternoon, Lena called, her voice vibrating with triumph. The fund's internal audit is complete. They've presented him with the findings. Misuse of management fees, violation of partnership agreement, gross reputational damage. They're offering him a choice. Resign immediately with a severance package that's a pittance. And they won't refer the matter to the SEC or sue him for clawback or fight it, and they'll sue him into oblivion and make sure he never works in finance again. What did he choose? I asked, though I already knew. He signed the resignation papers an hour ago. He's out, cleared his desk. It's over. I ended the call and walked to the window. The spring rain had stopped, leaving the city washed clean and glittering in the late afternoon sun. I felt no joy, no sorrow, just a vast, quiet emptiness, soon to be filled with something new, something of my own making. Down the hall, I heard Chloe laughing at something on her tablet. The sound was pure, untainted. It was the only thing that mattered. The unraveling was complete. The giant had fallen. Now came the reckoning. The conference room in the New York County Supreme Court building smelled of lemon-scented disinfectant and quiet desperation. It was a bland, soulless space, meant for the grinding down of lives into legal filings. I sat at the long mahogany table, Lena Rossi, a formidable, silent presence at my right hand. Across from us, Derek slumped in his chair, looking aged and diminished. Next to him, his lawyer, Mitchell Croft, was a study in aggressive bluster, arranging piles of paper with unnecessary force, his jowly face set in a permanent scowl. Between us, at the head of the table, sat the court-appointed mediator, a woman named Regina Cortland with the serene, implacable demeanor of a glacier. She adjusted her glasses and looked at the file before her. Good morning. This is a preliminary settlement conference in the matter of Thornton versus Thornton. My role is to facilitate a dialogue and see if we can avoid the time, expense, and acrimony of a public trial. Her voice was calm, neutral. Shall we begin with the petitioner's position? Ms. Rossi. Lena didn't stand. She never needed to. Her voice alone could command a room. Thank you, Ms. Cortland. Our position is straightforward. My client, Thea Thornton, is seeking a divorce on the grounds of adultery, constructive abandonment, and cruel and inhuman treatment. We are asking for sole legal and physical custody of the minor child, Chloe Thornton, with the respondent's visitation to be strictly supervised and at my client's discretion, given the respondent's demonstrated pattern of deceit and the creation of a secret. Second family, which he prioritized over his marital child. Croft snorted loudly. Your Honor, MS. Cortland, that this is character assassination, not a settlement position. My client is a devoted father who has been systematically alienated by a bitter, controlling spouse. Regina Cortland's expression didn't change. Allegations are not evidence. Mr. Croft, Ms. Rossi, you allege a second family. That is a serious claim. What is your basis? Lena opened a slim folder. We will be entering into evidence. At the appropriate time, the following flight records demonstrating the respondent spent an average of 117 days per year for the past 4 years in San Francisco, California, specifically during his daughter's birthdays and other family milestones. Financial records showing regular, substantial disbursements from marital assets and from his former firm's management pool to a Delaware LLC called Horizon View Holdings. Property records showing that LLC purchased a townhouse in Burlingame, California, approximately 3 years and 8 months ago. School records showing a child, Liam Chin, resides at that address, attends the Hillsborough Academy, and shares a date of birth within 5 days of the Thorntons' daughter, Chloe, and a handwritten birthday card, recovered by my client, in the respondent's undisputed handwriting, addressed to my brave little man, wishing him a happy 7th birthday, and signed Dad. Lena placed a photocopy of the card on the table and slid it toward the mediator. Derek stared at the copy as if it were a live scorpion. He'd gone a sickly gray. Croft recovered first, blustering. This is a collection of circumstantial innuendo, a birthday card with a generic phrase, business travel. My client has explained the financial arrangements as legitimate investment vehicles. As for the child, my client has never denied a compassionate, mentoring relationship with the son of a close friend. Lena didn't even look at him. She kept her eyes on the mediator. We are prepared to provide a sworn affidavit from Vivian Chin, the child's mother and the respondent's paramour, detailing the nature and timeline of their relationship, and the falsehoods the respondent used to facilitate it. We are also prepared to enter into evidence the findings of an internal audit from Asclepius Capital, which led to the respondent's resignation, specifically citing misuse of fund resources related to the California expenditures. Croft's bluster evaporated. He hadn't known about the affidavit. He certainly hadn't known the audit findings were in our possession. He turned to Derek, his voice a hissed whisper. You didn't tell me about an affidavit. Derek didn't seem to hear him. He was staring at the table, his shoulders hunched. Ms. Cortland. Lena continued, her voice like a scalpel. The respondent has not only betrayed his marriage, he has committed financial fraud against the marital estate and violated his fiduciary duties to his business partners to support this secret life. He has systematically chosen that life over the life he built with my client and their daughter. His moral unfitness and the profound instability of his conduct are directly relevant to the issues of asset division and child custody. Regina Cortland studied the card, then looked at Derek. Her glacial calm was more terrifying than any anger. Mr. Thornton, I need you to answer 2 questions. Under oath. You are still under oath from the start of this proceeding. She leaned forward slightly. Is Liam Chin your biological son? The room was utterly silent. The hum of the air conditioning seemed to grow louder. Derek's lawyer started to say, Don't answer that. But Derek spoke over him. His voice was a dry rustle. Yes, Croft closed his eyes. A portrait of professional despair. And is his date of birth October 12th? Cortland asked. Derek nodded, then found his voice. Yes, thank you. Cortland made a note. She looked at Croft. Mr. Croft, your client's position, given these admissions, seems significantly weakened. The petitioner's demands, while substantial, appear to have a factual foundation. Do you have a counterproposal that acknowledges the reality of the situation? Croft, floundering, launched into a speech about preserving parental bonds and a fair, equitable split of assets accrued during the marriage. He proposed 50-50 custody and a 60-40th asset split in Derek's favor, citing his greater earning potential that had just been publicly incinerated. Lena let him finish. Then she said, given the respondent's current unemployment, his liability for potential civil and regulatory actions stemming from his conduct at Asclepius, and the deliberate dissipation of marital assets, my client's position is the only equitable one. We are also prepared to file a tort claim against the respondent and Ms. Chin for intentional infliction of emotional distress and fraud next week, which will further complicate any financial picture. It was a checkmate move. The mediator saw it. I strongly urge you to confer with your client, Mr. Croft. Based on what I've heard today, prolonged litigation will be ruinously expensive and is unlikely to yield a significantly better outcome for him. I'm adjourning this session for 1 hour. Use the time wisely. She stood and left the room. The moment the door clicked shut, Croft rounded on Derek. You kept me in the dark. An affidavit from the girlfriend? Why is she talking to them? I don't know. Derek exploded, his composure shattering. She's panicking. Thea got to her. He shot a venomous look at me. The first direct eye contact he'd dared all morning. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Tearing everything down. I met his gaze. My own face a placid mask. I'm protecting what's mine. You should have tried it sometime. Lena gathered her papers. We'll be downstairs in the cafe. You have our terms. Mr. Croft, 1 hour. She shepherded me out, leaving them to their sinking ship. The article dropped at noon, not in a gossip blog, but in the Financial Journal, the Bible of the industry Derek had just been cast out of. The headline was brutal in its dryness. Asclepius Capital partner departs amid internal probe. Questions raised over expense management. It didn't mention me, or Vivian, or Liam. It spoke of irregular transfers to an obscure holding company, a breach of partnership protocols, and a swift resignation. In the world of high finance, it was a screaming scarlet letter. It meant Derek wasn't just fired, he was radioactive. My phone began to vibrate incessantly. Friends, associates, reporters seeking comment. I ignored them all except one. Meredith, the Financial Journal? She said, admiration clear in her voice. How did you manage that? A friend of a friend at the SEC got a whispered question about Asclepius's audit. The FJAWS bloodhounds. They connected the dots themselves. I sipped my tea, watching the traffic crawl below the courthouse. The beauty of it is, it's all true. And it's not even the salacious part. It's the part that really destroys him in the only world he ever cared about. It's perfect. Meredith breathed. He's not a tragic lover. He's a bad investment. Unsubscribe. Back in the conference room an hour later, the atmosphere had shifted from tense to funereal. Croft looked defeated. Derek looked utterly hollowed out, a shell of the man who'd charmed donors at the MoMA Gala a lifetime ago. My client, Croft began, his voice drained of all its earlier force, is prepared to acknowledge that the petitioner should have primary residence of the child. He is also prepared to vacate the marital residence and not contest its award to Mrs. Thornton. On the matter of assets and support, we believe the petitioner's demands are punitive. Given my client's altered circumstances, the haggling began, but the fight was gone. It was a mopping up operation. Lena was merciless, conceding nothing. Every time Croft tried to argue for a lump sum instead of ongoing support, Lena would mention the impending tort lawsuit or the forthcoming media attention on the personal dimensions of the financial malfeasance. It was a chokehold, as Lena detailed the forensic accounting that would trace every dollar spent on Primrose Lane back to our joint accounts. My phone buzzed with a different San Francisco number, not Vivian's. I excused myself and stepped into the sterile hallway. Thea Thornton. Mrs. Thornton. It's Vivian. Her voice was different. The panic was gone, replaced by a flat, exhausted resolve. I've spoken to your lawyer. I've given my statement. It's all there. The timeline, the lies he told, the money, everything. I know. Thank you. A pause. I need to know something. Was any of it real? With me? The question was so pathetic, so small, that I almost felt a flicker of pity. Almost. Does it matter? It built a house. It pays for your son's school. That's real enough. Focus on that. She let out a shaky breath. I've retained my own counsel. He's drafting a formal agreement. I provide the affidavit. You and your lawyer guarantee no legal action against me. And you leave us alone. We disappear from your story. That's the deal. I confirmed. Send the affidavit to Lena Rossi. Once it's executed, you'll never hear from me again. And I'd suggest you change your number. He's going to get desperate. He already is, she said, and hung up. I leaned against the cool wall, the reality of it settling. The last loose thread was tied. Vivian wasn't an ally, but she was no longer a weapon in his arsenal. She was a witness for the prosecution. I returned to the conference room. The negotiation was wrapping up. Croft was scribbling notes. His shoulders slumped. Derek was just staring at his hands. Lena looked at me, a question in her eyes. I gave a single, slight nod. We're prepared to adjourn for today. Lena said to the mediator, the respondent's counsel needs time to review our detailed settlement proposal with his client. We expect a response within 48 hours. Failure to respond constructively will result in the immediate filing of the tort complaint and a motion for exclusive use of all remaining marital assets to secure my client's and the child's financial future. It was a dismissal. We were leaving, with the upper hand, the battlefield theirs to bury their dead on. Outside the courthouse, the spring sun was blinding. Lena squeezed my arm. It's done. He'll sign. He has no other play. The affidavit from Chin is the nail in the coffin. He can't risk a trial where she takes the stand. How long? I asked, my voice quiet. A few weeks to finalize the papers. He'll move out of the Lowell. He can't afford it anyway. The fund severance won't last a month. You'll have the house, full custody, a support order that will be a constant anchor around his neck. He's finished. I should have felt something. Triumph. Vindication. All I felt was a profound, weary emptiness. Make sure the clause about Chloe's college is ironclad. And her therapy, I want it mandated and paid for by him. It's in there. Lena studied my face. Go home to your daughter. Thea, build the castle with her. The war is over. But wars have a final. Messy cleanup. 2 days later, as I was helping Chloe with her spelling homework, the intercom from the building's front desk buzzed. Mrs. Thornton? I'm sorry to disturb you. There's a Mr. Thornton here. He's insisting on seeing you. He says it's about his daughter. He's quite agitated. Should I call security? I looked at Chloe, sounding out the word recommend. No, Martin. It's fine. Tell him I'll meet him in the residence lounge in 5 minutes. Do not let him up. I kissed the top of Chloe's head. Keep going. Smarty pants. Mommy has to deal with something boring downstairs. I'll be right back. I didn't change. I went down in my yoga pants and an old sweater. A clear message. You are not worth dressing for. He was pacing in the quiet, tastefully bland lounge. He looked terrible, unshaven, eyes bloodshot, his clothes rumpled. The Lowell's polish was gone. Thea, he said, rushing toward me, then stopping as I took a deliberate step back. We need to talk, not through lawyers. Just us. There's no us. Derek, you lost the right to a just us conversation when you started signing birthday cards to your other child. Say what you need to say. Quickly. Chloe is waiting. He flinched. I'll sign the papers. The house. The custody, all of it. I won't fight you. Just please, don't cut me out of her life completely. She's my daughter too. Is she? I asked, my voice cold, because for the past 7 years, you've treated her like a charming accessory you checked in on between your real life in California. You have another son you call brave. You have another family you built a house for. Go be a father to them. It's not that simple, he pleaded, his voice cracking. Vivian won't even talk to me. She changed the locks. The school is asking for tuition. I have nothing. Thea, nothing. For a fleeting second, the old, manipulative dynamic tugged at me the urge to soothe, to fix, to manage his disaster. I crushed it. You have the consequences of your choices. You wanted 2 lives. Now you have 2 ruins. I'm not responsible for cleaning up either one. He sank into an armchair, burying his face in his hands. I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. You keep saying that. I said, my patience gone, as if it's some kind of excuse. I never meant to get caught. I never meant for you to find out. You meant every single action that led us here. You meant to lie. You meant to cheat. You meant to steal from our family to build another one. The only thing you didn't mean was for me to be strong enough to stop you. I walked to the door. Sign the papers. Derek, it's the last decent thing you can do for the daughter you claim to love. Then leave us alone. I walked out, not looking back. In the elevator, I closed my eyes, waiting for the shake, the delayed reaction. It didn't come. There was only a solid, unyielding calm. Back upstairs, Chloe had finished her homework. Was it boring? She asked. The most boring thing in the world, I said, pulling her into a hug. Now, how about we order sushi and watch a movie? Just us girls. She grinned. Can we watch the one with the singing snowman? We can watch anything you want, I said, meaning it with every fiber of my being. The reckoning was complete. The ledger was settled. The balance of power, of truth, of our future, was now irrevocably, peacefully, mine. The envelope from Lena's office arrived by courier at 10 a.m., thick and heavy with finality. Inside were the divorce settlement papers, every clause honed to a razor's edge after the abject surrender of the mediation. I flipped through the pages. The legalese a satisfying narrative of his defeat. Respondent shall relinquish all right, title, and interest in the marital residence. Petitioner shall be awarded sole legal and physical custody. Respondent's parenting time shall be supervised and at the sole discretion of the petitioner. Respondent shall be responsible for 85% of the minor child's expenses, including but not limited to, it went on, spousal support, the transfer of the Burlingame property to me, a confidentiality clause forbidding him from publicly discussing the marriage or the terms. It was a document of capitulation. My phone rang. Lena, he's seen them. Croft just called. Derek is not taking it well. He's insisting on one more meeting with you. Alone. I advised against it, strongly. I looked out at the soft green of Central Park, just coming to life outside my window, a public place, neutral ground, where and when. Thea, no, there's nothing to gain. He'll sign. He has to. There's something to gain, I said, my voice calm. Closure. For me. And I want to look him in the eye when he understands it's really over. Set it up. Somewhere public. The boat house in Central Park. This afternoon. I arrived first, choosing a table on the edge of the terrace overlooking the lake. It was a weekday, relatively quiet, a few tourists, a nanny with a stroller. I ordered an iced tea and waited. He was 5 minutes late, a small but telling deviation from the man who was once fanatical about punctuality. He looked worse than he had in the courthouse lounge. His suit was rumpled, his eyes hollow. The vibrant, commanding energy that had once defined him was gone, leaving a husk of anxiety and defeat. He slid into the chair across from me, not meeting my eyes. "Thank you for coming," he said, the formality pathetic. "I'm on a schedule. Derek, Chloe has a play date at 4. Say what you need to say." He clasped his hands on the table, his knuckles white. "The papers. Lena's demands, they're a death sentence. You're cutting me out of Chloe's life completely. Supervised visitation? At your discretion? I'm her father. Thea, are you?" I asked, taking a slow sip of my tea. The ice clinked softly. "Let's review. For the first 7 years of her life, you were physically absent for approximately 1/3 of it. You missed 6 of her 7 birthdays. You missed her first day of school, her first ballet recital, the stomach flu that had her hospitalized overnight when she was 4. You were in California, Derek, at baseball games, at parent-teacher conferences, at pumpkin patches, with your son." Each word was a precise, surgical cut. He flinched with every one. "That's not fair," he whispered hoarsely. "I provided for her. I gave her everything. You gave her a credit card and a guilty conscience. Liam got your time, your attention, your presence. He got the father Chloe prayed for every night when she thought I wasn't listening." I leaned forward, my voice dropping, lethal in its calm. "You wrote him a birthday card. Derek, you called him my brave little man. What did you call Chloe that day? Did you even remember to call?" A muscle twitched in his jaw. "I'm trying to make it right. I'll do anything. Counseling. I'll move back to the city full time. I'll be the father she needs. Just don't take her away from me. Please. We can be a family again." The audacity of it, the staggering lack of self-awareness, took my breath away. I actually laughed. A short, sharp sound that made the nanny at the next table glance over. "A family? You want a playhouse now? After you've already built and furnished a whole other one on the other side of the country?" The time for being a family was the last 7 years. You made your choice. Every single day. You chose them. It wasn't a choice against Chloe. He insisted, a desperate heat entering his voice. "It was complicated. Vivian was, it was a different part of my life. It didn't mean I loved Chloe any less. It meant you loved your own convenience, your own ego, more." I countered, my voice like steel. "You loved having a smart, presentable wife in New York to open doors for you. And you loved having a pretty, adoring doctor in California who asked for nothing but your time, which you gave to her because it was easier than doing the hard work here. You are the most profoundly lazy man I have ever met. Derek, you wanted the rewards of a family without the daily grind of actually being in one. So you outsourced it to me and to her." He stared at me, his mouth slightly open, as if I'd spoken in a language he'd never heard. I had finally framed his sin in terms he couldn't twist. Not passion, not love, but laziness, a moral and emotional indolence. "You don't understand the pressure I was under," he began, falling back on the old refrain. "Stop." The word cracked through the air. "Just stop. I'm not your therapist. I'm not your publicist. I'm the woman whose life you used as a stepping stone and a checking account. Our conversation is over. You have exactly 2 options." I reached into my bag and pulled out a single sheet of paper. It was a simplified, bullet point list Lena and I had prepared. I slid it across the table. Option A. You sign the settlement agreement as written. You walk away from the 5th Avenue apartment. You execute the deed, transferring the Burlingame property to me. You agree to the financial support structure. You accept supervised visitation with Chloe on a schedule I approve, starting in 6 months, after she's had time to adjust and with a child psychologist present. In return, I do not file the civil suit against you and Vivian Chin. I do not provide the full dossier of your financial malfeasance to the SSC, though I suspect Asclepius already has. I do not give an interview to the Financial Journal about the personal squalor behind their dry audit findings. You will be poor, and you will be a peripheral figure in your daughter's life. But you will have a life. You can go to California and try to pick up the pieces with the ruins of your other family. If they'll have you." His eyes scanned the page, growing wider with each line. This is extortion. It's consequence. I corrected. Option B. You fight me. You try to drag this through court. You try to paint me as the villain. And in response, I will use every connection, every favor, every piece of evidence I have to ensure you end up with nothing. I will take the dossier, the photos, the financial trails, the recordings of you calling Liam my boy, Vivian's affidavit detailing your lies, and I will mail it to every partner at every competing fund, every board member of every club that's still considering you, every parent at Liam's precious Hillsborough Academy. I will sue Vivian, and I will make sure the complaint is so salacious it ends up on page 6. I will pursue full termination of your parental rights on the grounds of abandonment and moral unfitness. I will not stop until you are legally, financially, and socially bankrupt. You will be a punchline and a pariah, and your son will grow up knowing his father is a liar, a cheat, and a failure who destroyed 2 families because he couldn't keep his pants on or his checkbook honest. The color had completely drained from his face. He looked at the paper, then at me, his eyes wide with a terror I had never seen in him before. Not the fear of a lost deal, but the primal fear of total annihilation. You wouldn't," he stammered. "Chloe, you wouldn't do that to her father. You stopped being her father the moment you decided to be someone else's daddy," I said, gathering my things. I stood up, looking down at him. "I have to go. I have a daughter to pick up, and a new puppy to look at. She's decided on a golden retriever. You have 48 hours to have your lawyer call Lena with your decision. Option A or option B. There is no option C. There is no negotiation. There is only surrender." I turned and walked away, leaving him sitting there, a broken man at a sunny cafe table, the sheet of paper fluttering slightly in the breeze. I didn't look back, not once. 41 hours later, Lena called. He signed every page, no revisions. Croft just messengered the executed copies over. He's also included a notarized letter instructing the title company to transfer the Burlingame property to you. It's done. Thea, it's over. A strange stillness settled over me. It was the quiet after the storm, after the last echo of thunder has faded. And the confidentiality clause? Ironclad. He breathes a word. He owes you 7 figures in damages per incident. He's broke enough. He'll stay quiet. I walked through the silent, sunlit penthouse, Meipenhaus, every book, every piece of art, every view. Mine, paid for with my effort, my loyalty, my stolen time, finally reclaimed. "What about California?" I asked. "Vivian? Her affidavit is in our files. A insurance policy. She's retained a lawyer who's already sent Derek a cease and desist about contacting her. She's playing her part. The duped victim cutting ties. She'll be fine, more than fine. She got a free townhouse for a few years and a brutal life lesson." I thought of the woman in the navy dress, her intelligent eyes full of dawning horror. I felt no sympathy, but no active hatred either. She was a casualty of his war, just as I had been. We had both believed the fiction of Derek Thornton. Now we were both free of it, in our own ways. "I'm taking Chloe to Paris," I said, "next week. Just us girls. A brilliant idea. Get out of the city and its gossip. Let the dust settle. You've earned a champagne tower at the Ritz." I hung up and went to find Chloe. She was in her room, the nearly completed Lego castle dominating the floor. The enchanted castle, the gift that had started it all. "Sweetheart," I said, sitting beside her, "how would you like to go on a trip? Just you and me, to a real castle, in Paris." Her head whipped around, her eyes wide. "Paris? In France? For real?" "For real. We can see the Eiffel Tower, eat croissants, Visit a palace where a real princess lived. Will Daddy come? She asked, the question automatic, but less hopeful than it once was. No, honey, this is our trip, a girl's adventure. What do you say? A smile broke over her face, radiant and uncomplicated. Yes. Can we go tomorrow? I laughed, pulling her close. Not tomorrow, but soon. I promise. A week later, we stood on the Trocadero, the Eiffel Tower stretching impossibly high against a crisp blue Parisian sky. Chloe was clutching a giant balloon and a crepe, her face a picture of pure, sugar-fueled joy. The weight of the last few months, but the fury, the strategy, the cold calculation seemed to melt away in the spring sunlight. Mommy? Chloe said, her voice small as she gazed up at the iron lattice. Yes. My love? Are you sad? About Daddy not living with us? I knelt down, putting my hands on her shoulders, looking into her clear blue eyes, the same eyes as the man I had just destroyed. But in her, they held only curiosity and a touch of concern. You know what, Chloe? I'm not sad, I said, and realized with a shock that it was the complete truth. I'm proud. I'm proud of us. And I'm so excited for our new life. Just the two of us. Sometimes, saying goodbye to something that's broken is the bravest, happiest thing you can do. She considered this, her small brow furrowed. Then she nodded, a wise beyond her years acceptance. Okay, can we go up the tower now? We can do anything you want, I said, standing and taking her hand. That night, after Chloe had fallen asleep in the lavish hotel suite, exhausted from a day of wonder, I stepped out onto the small balcony. The city of lights glittered below, a tapestry of lives and stories. My phone buzzed with a text from Lena, a photo of the filed, stamped court order, finalizing the divorce. Beneath it, her message, the empire is yours. Long may you reign. I didn't reply. I looked out at the lights, the Seine a dark ribbon through the heart of it all. I thought of Derek, probably in some cramped apartment, his world shrunk to the size of a legal document's penalties. I thought of the Burlingame house, soon to be sold, the proceeds funneled into a new initiative at my foundation for children of fractured families. I thought of Vivian, rebuilding her life, hopefully wiser. And I thought of Chloe, safe and dreaming in the next room. The final move had been made. The game was over, and for the first time in 7 years, I was not a player on someone else's board. I was the architect of my own world. I took a deep breath of the cool Parisian air, and I smiled. It was not a smile of vengeance, though vengeance had been served. It was a smile of liberation, hard-won and absolute. Thea Thornton was finally, unequivocally, free. 1 year later, the sound echoing through the sun-drenched living room of my .no. Our Fifth Avenue home wasn't the tense silence of a year ago. It was the joyous, chaotic cacophony of a dozen second graders playing tag, their laughter bouncing off the walls, now decorated with bright, childlike art instead of sterile, expensive abstracts. Chloe's 8th birthday party was in full swing, and the guest list was refreshingly different. There were no hedge fund wives assessing each other's jewelry, no social climbers angling for an introduction. There were kids from her public school, their parents, teachers, artists, a software engineer, a bookstore owner, chatting easily by the punch bowl, and a very excited, very large golden retriever puppy named Butterscotch weaving through the chaos, his tail a happy, destructive metronome. I watched from the kitchen island, a glass of sparkling water in my hand, a genuine, unforced smile on my face. Meredith sidled up beside me, nudging me with her elbow, noticeably absent. Ice sculptures, a DJ, and anyone who owns a yacht named Audacity. I think the piñata filled with organic fruit snacks is a hit, I said, nodding to where a group of kids was taking a blindfolded swing at a giant unicorn hanging from a beam. A far superior crowd. Meredith declared, stealing a carrot stick from a platter. So, how does it feel? The 1-year anniversary of the fall of the empire? I looked around. Chloe, her face, smeared with blue frosting, was demonstrating a complicated handclap game to a friend. The room was filled with real joy, not performance. It feels light, I said, and it was the perfect word. The legal dust had settled into a new, unshakable landscape. The divorce was final. The Fifth Avenue apartment was solely in my name. The proceeds from the swift, quiet sale of the Burlingame property, a sale executed by a steely-eyed female agent who asked no questions, now formed the cornerstone of the Chloe Thornton Grant for single mothers in transition, administered through my foundation. The irony was delicious, and the first round of grants had just been awarded, providing legal aid and career training to 10 women. Derek's child and spousal support payments were automatically deducted from an account that, according to the financial watchdog Lena had insisted on, was perpetually anemic. He had moved to Chicago, taking a mid-level analyst job at a second-tier firm, a precipitous fall he'd accepted without a whimper. His supervised visits with Chloe, conducted quarterly with a child psychologist present, were brief, awkward affairs. Chloe treated him with a polite distance, usually reserved for a slightly boring great uncle. She had adjusted, as children do, to the reality that was in front of her, not the fantasy that had failed her. My phone buzzed on the counter, an email notification. The subject line, "Thank you from the bottom of my heart." I opened it. "Dear Ms. Thornton, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I was told this was the way to reach you. My name is Anya Petrova. I was one of the first recipients of the Chloe Thornton Grant. Because of it, I was able to pay for a lawyer who helped me get full custody of my sons from my abusive ex-husband. The career training stipend allowed me to get certified as a paralegal. I start a job at a good firm next Monday. For the first time in years, I can breathe. I can see a future for me and my boys. You have given us our lives back. I will never be able to thank you enough, but I will spend every day paying forward even a fraction of the hope you've given us. With eternal gratitude, Anya." I stared at the screen, a sudden, profound tightness in my throat. This was the legacy, not the ruin of Derek Thornton, but the building of this, a woman and her children, safe, a future reclaimed. It was a better revenge than any headline, any social snub. It was alchemy, turning the lead of his betrayal into something golden and enduring. "You okay?" Meredith asked, peering at my face. I blinked rapidly, clearing the moisture from my eyes. "Better than okay." I showed her the email. She read it, her own usually cynical expression softening. "Well, damn, Thea, you didn't just break the bastard. You built a monument from the rubble. I'm impressed." "The gift," one of the kids yelled, and the pack descended on the pile of presents. Chloe, with the serene authority of a birthday queen, began to open them. A new set of chapter books, a science kit, a beautiful, hand-knit scarf from a classmate's mother. Then, she reached for a large, flat, professionally wrapped box from me. She tore the paper away to reveal not a toy, but a framed, custom architectural blueprint. It was for a real, buildable treehouse, designed by a famous female architect I'd commissioned. It had a pulley system, a trap door, a reading nook, and a telescope mount. "Mommy!" Chloe gasped, her eyes wide. "Is this for real?" "For real," I said, kneeling beside her. "We can build it in the country house this summer. You and me. Well, us and a very good carpenter. But we'll design the inside together." She threw her arms around my neck. "It's the best present ever." Taped to the back of the frame was a small, simple card. She pulled it off and read it aloud, her voice clear and happy. "For my brave explorer. The only title that matters is Chloe's mom. All my love. Forever. Mommy." She hugged the blueprint to her chest, beaming. The card from a year ago. T.O. my brave little man had been incinerated in my fireplace the night Derek signed the papers. This new card, with its true and tender words, was the replacement, the correction, the truth, the party wound down, leaving a happy mess of wrapping paper, crumbs, and a blissfully exhausted puppy. After the last guest was gone and Chloe was in bed, the blueprint propped proudly on her nightstand, I poured 2 glasses of a very good Burgundy. Meredith clinked her glass against mine. To the architect, she said, we drank. The city lights twinkled beyond the windows. A skyline I now owned in a different, more personal way. Any regrets? Meredith asked, her tone turning serious, even a fleeting moment of, I don't know, pity? He's a ghost of himself, from what I hear. A nobody in a cubicle in Chicago. I swirled the wine in my glass, considering. I thought of the hollow, terrified man in the boathouse. I thought of the rage, the pain, the strategic coldness that had got me here. No, I said finally, the word absolute, not regret. The only thing I ever truly regretted was the time I spent not seeing him clearly. The years I wasted being the supportive wife to a man who saw our family as a division of his portfolio. I took a sip. What I did wasn't about revenge. Not really. It was about reclamation. I took back what was mine at MY Home. My daughter's security. My own narrative. I saved us from the life he was slowly draining away. That feeling? I looked at her. My gaze steady. It's better than forgiveness. It's respect. For myself. Meredith nodded. Understanding. And the other one? The doctor? Vivian Chin? I hadn't thought of her in months. According to a passive update from Lena's investigator, she was still at Stanford, had been promoted. Liam was still at Hillsborough. There was no mention of men in her life. She had taken the lifeboat. She made her choice. We're both free of him. That's the only thing that matters. Later, after Meredith left, I checked my email one last time. I typed a reply to Anya Petrova. Dear Anya, thank you for your email. Your words mean more to me than you can know. Your courage is the real engine of your new life. The grant was just a little fuel. You have already paid it back in full by building a safe. Happy future for your sons. Go be brilliant. Warmly, Thea Thornton. I hit send. Then I walked down the hall to Chloe's room. She was asleep. One arm flung over the edge of the bed, the other curled around the framed blueprint. The nightlight cast a soft glow on her peaceful face. I smoothed her hair and kissed her forehead. Good night, my brave explorer. I whispered, back in my study, now a warm, inviting space filled with books I actually read and photos of our adventures. I opened my laptop. The project accountability file was still there, in a secure, encrypted folder. I opened it, scrolling through the timeline, the evidence, the strategy. It read like a thriller, a manual on how to dismantle a life. I highlighted the entire document, my finger hovering over the delete key. Then I stopped. I didn't delete it. Instead, I saved it to an external drive, a digital fossil, not as a trophy, but as a reminder, a receipt. Proof that the woman who had emerged from the wreckage was capable of profound resilience, of fierce protection, of cold, precise strength when it was required. I closed the laptop. The past was a closed case. The evidence was filed away. The future was a treehouse waiting to be built, a foundation growing stronger, and a little girl sleeping safely down the hall. I turned off the light and stood in the darkness, looking out at the endless, glittering promise of the city. Thea Thornton was no longer a wife, no longer a victim, no longer a player in someone else's game. She was simply, powerfully, free, and that was the only legacy she had ever needed to create.